What is up, guys? My name is Lex. I'm here at my Florida apartment in South Florida. There's Low Rogue, and there's an air mattress. Why do I have an air mattress? Well, my dad is coming to visit me tomorrow. He's gonna be staying here for a week. He's flying in from Iowa for my meetup game, which is happening 2 days from now, which will have already happened by the time this vlog comes out. Well, today we're playing at the Harrahs Casino in Pompano, which is formerly known as the Iowa Casino. It's about 20 minutes north of me. I got invited to a game there. It's like a 5-10, maybe 5-10-25 game. The only problem is I don't have any money. I don't have any cash on me. All my cash, all my chips is at the Hard Rock. I'm not prepared. So I gotta make a quick trip to the Hard Rock, get some cash, get some loot, and then head up north to Pompano. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully we can run good today. There he is. Let's go. I don't know about you guys, but I was raised that when an elevator door opens, you always wait for the person who's inside to come out before you walk in. And I don't know what's up with the people in my apartment complex, but nobody follows that rule. Nobody, I guess, was taught that when they were younger, but every single time I'm in the elevator with my dog or by myself or other people, the door opens, people are standing out there, they just walk right in. They don't let anybody out. I don't know, maybe that's just how people were taught around where I live, but people here in South Florida, they don't give a shit at all. It looks like they renovated this entire place. I haven't been here in a couple months, and it looks nice. I also don't know how big this game is going to be. I don't know if it's 5, 10, 25, 50, whatever, so I ended up bringing 15,000. Hopefully we don't need it all, but we'll see. I sit down and buy in for $3,000 to start out here. The game is 5, 10, 10 with occasional straddles as well. In this hand, there's a button straddle to 25. I'm first to act in the small blind with ace-queen offsuit to make it 75. Under the gun, player 3-bets me to 225. Hijack calls 225. Button calls 225. And I call again here with ace-queen offsuit. We go 4 ways to a 10 high board. I completely miss on this flop, but when I check, and under the gun puts out a smaller bet of $225. Hijack folds and button folds, and with 2 overcards, and maybe the possibility of turning my hand into a bluff later on, I decide to float here out of position and make the call. Turn card 9 of diamonds, the action goes check, check very quickly. River card 3 of hearts, and I do think this is a spot where I want to turn my hand into a bluff. I actually think my opponent has ace-king here a lot of the time. That's a hand he would 3-bet pre-flop and then maybe slow down and check the turn with. So I turn my ace-queen into a bluff and bet $400 here.
Flush is good.
You win.
Oh. No, he didn't.
I didn't call it.
He wanted to see your cards. He folded.
If you were confused of what happened in this hand, so was I. So in this game, they give every single person a kill button when the game starts, and you can use that button to see your opponent's cards after you fold. Well, in this hand, I bet out $400. I dropped a chip in my stack, and while I was looking down, my opponent folded and threw a chip in, which I thought meant that he called. So I said, "You're good," not seeing that he folded his cards beforehand, and he actually threw me the kill button, which means that he's giving up his hand and he wants to see my hand as well. So I thought for sure I lost a hand. I thought he flicked in a chip and my ace high was no good, but it turns out he folded and he was just trying to see what I had. I showed the ace queen, and later on he told me he had ace 5 suited, so I feel like that's a pretty easy fold for him, and we end up taking down our first pot of the day. Right when I sat down, they mentioned this kill button game, so of course I understood how the game worked, but I wasn't paying attention when my opponent folded, so all I saw was the button, which I thought was the chip, being thrown toward me, and I got confused, but I actually really like this kill button show your cards game. It's really cool, it's different. I've never played with this kind of thing before, and also, if you're in a really tough spot and you have to make a tough fold pre-flop or post-flop, it's really cool to be able to see your opponent's cards, and I end up using my kill button to see one of my opponent's cards later on in the session. There's no straddle on in this next hand. I'm under the gun with pocket kings. Given the fact that everyone's deep stacked, I decided to go bigger with my raise. I make it $50. Normally I might make it 30 or 35. I get a call from the button and a call from the big blind. So we're going 3 ways here with kings to 10, 9, 7 rainbow. Ideally, this is not the best flop when you get called multi-way here with a single pair hand. We really can't improve, and my opponents could have flopped some big hands like 2 pairs, straights, and sets. So I slow down and check, and the action checks all the way around. Turn card 5 of spades, now bringing in a flush draw. I bet $115, and only the button makes the call. Heads up now to the 6 of hearts on the river. Pretty bad card. Now any 8 makes a straight. Could bring in some more 2 pairs that meet me. I don't think I can bet thin for value here, so I just check. Button checks behind and shows Jack 9 of spades for a pair of 9s. And kings slightly beat a pair of 9s, so I end up winning this smaller pot here, our second pot of the day. Next up, the button straddle is on. There's a call with 9-6 of clubs in the big blind. I raise to $100. Get 2 callers. I flop a flush draw on a jack high board. I c-bet and everybody folds. This next hand is very interesting and has some levels to it. So I raise it up to $50 here in the cutoff with king 10 of clubs. After I show my cards to the camera, I give my hand to my friend here on the left and allow him to sweat my hand while I play out this hand as well. So I get small blind, big blind, and the straddle calls 4 ways to ace queen 3 with 1 club. I flop a gut shot straight draw, backdoor flush draw, and to my surprise, the big blind player leads out for a $200 bet on this flop. It is a big pot size bet, but we're playing around $2,500 deep, so I call here looking to spike a jack or maybe pick up some equity on the turn, which I do. It's the 9 of clubs. So now I have a gut shot straight draw, and now I have a flush draw. My opponent now continues for a $400 bet. I now consider maybe raising here, trying to represent a hand like ace-king, aces, queens, or ace-queen, but I don't think this opponent's going to be folding an ace to me after betting $400, so I just make the call, trying to hit one of my outs, a club, a jack, one time. Not this time. It's the 9 of diamonds, so it does prey the board, and it brings in that front door flush. I'm expecting my opponent to check, which he does. This is a scare card. Obviously, I could be calling on the flop and the turn with a flush, and I could have gotten there on the river. Now, once he checks to me, should I give up and check back, or should I go for it here and make a big river bluff? Well, there's a lot of things going through my brain. 1, I'm new to this game and no one really knows how I play. 2, I gave my hand to my new friend on my left, and he's sweating my hand as well. Do I just want to be a baby and check back king high, or do I want to go for it here? Well, I decide to go for it and put out a $750 river bluff here. I'm not sure about you guys, but when I bluff either on the turn, the river, pre-flop, it is when my heart rate gets jacked up the most. I don't really have a big accelerated heart rate if I have a big hand, but if I'm bluffing a big sizing, my heart rate is jacked up. Well, I made a mistake in this hand because before I usually bluff, I'll try to prepare myself for maybe 10-15 seconds and get ready for this big adrenaline or heart rate spike so that I can control myself and not give off any tells. Well, before this bluff, I didn't think about any of that. I wasn't even sure if I wanted to bluff or not, but after thinking for like 30 seconds, I felt like I thought too long, so I just said 750, and immediately my heart rate was jacked up. I was super nervous, but my opponent is in the tank now forever. He starts kind of talking to himself, asking, did you really call 400 with a flush draw? Obviously, I'm hoping he thinks I have a flush here and he'll fold a hand like ace 10 or ace jack. He shouldn't ever really have a full house on this board. After thinking for a while, about 2 minutes, my opponent eventually calls. You win. Big blind shows ace queen, so we ran right into it here. He's got top 2 pair. My opponent makes a good call, and we end up losing around $1,500 here on this bluff. An interesting hand. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about that bluff. Over the next hour or so, I add on to my stack. I lose a small pot here with pocket queens. I win a small pot here with ace king. I then make a flush with queen 9 of clubs, and now about 2.5-3 hours into the session, I have around a $7,000 stack, and I'm in the game for around $6,000. Moving along, there's a couple limps, a button raised to 75. I peel back jacks in the big blind and 3-bet to $325. Back over to the button, who 4-bets me to $1,400. Wow, a big 4-bet by my opponent. She has about $2,000 left in her stack. And over the last 2 weeks, I've just been getting crushed with pocket jacks. I feel like in this situation, our best case scenario is that she has ace king, and we're flipping. Worst case scenario, she has queens, kings, and aces. It's also kind of a weird spot. I don't really want to call this 4-bet and then not really know where I'm at. What if the board comes out queen high and she has ace king? So I decided to just let my hand go and my opponent folds, but I decided to use my kill button because I want to see her hand, and she shows ace king. What a good raise by my opponent. She got me off a pair. We then decide to run out the board because we're a little bit interested here. What would have happened? Well, the flop came out king high and the board ran out with all clubs, so I would have lost a huge one here if I would have went all in. Well, we have a chance to get it back here with king jack of spades. I raise and get 3 callers and see a sick flop of 10-9-3, 2 spades. I flop a combo draw here of a straight draw, a flush draw, and 2 overcards. I continue for a $200 bet. And now a late position player with only $625 left in his stack decides to jam all in. Now, of course, I'm going to be snap calling this $625 bet, but the cutoff has different plans. Versus this $625 bet, the cutoff now decides to 3-bet on this flop to $1,300. The button gets out of the way and the action's back over on me. Wow, we are in a very, very interesting spot here. I bet 200. There's an all-in for 625, and now a 3-bet on the flop to 1,300. My opponent in the cutoff has around $1,700 left in his stack. I feel like I only have 2 options here. 1, fold, or 2, go all in. I mean, if I call $1,300, I'm just never folding on the turn if my opponent shoves for a half pot size bet. I feel like we should just try to get all the money in here and try to run it twice on the flop. But the problem is this cutoff player raising to $1,300 shows so much strength. He could have a set easily, or he could just have the nut flush draw. He could have 9x of spades, all hands that we're really not doing too great against. All this action in front of me is making me feel like either some people have some of my outs with a nut flush draw, maybe someone has a hand like queen 10 or queen jack, which takes some outs away from my straights, or if I'm up against a set and the nut flush draw, I'm basically drawing dead. So I'm only in the pot for 200. I decide to fold my hand, and they end up running out the board. The top board, I would have made a flush, and on the second board, I would have bricked all my outs. The short stack player shows jack 10, and the cutoff player shows 9-7 of spades. A super sick play by the cutoff player raising it on the flop here. If he would have just called 625, I would have called 625, and we both would have made a flush on the turn, and he would have lost his entire stack. So good for him. He made a good play and ends up winning a massive pot here with a flush. All right, last hand of this session, raised 9-10 of clubs to 75. I get 3-bet next to act to 275. Well, I didn't come to this game to fold suited connectors that can make straights and flushes, so I make the call. Let's see a flop. Ace 9-4 with 2 diamonds. I flop second pair. I check, and the 3-better checks behind. Turn card 10 of diamonds. Now I make 2 pair. I feel like a lot of the time he's going to have jacks, queens, and kings in this spot after 3-betting and then checking back the flop. So I think he does have those pairs, and if he does have a pair with a diamond or maybe ace queen with a diamond, he's not going to be folding to a big bet. So I decide to size up here with my 2 pair on the turn to $425, just trying to get max value from those hands that can't fold just yet on the turn. After thinking for about 30 seconds, my opponent makes the call. So we're going to the river here, which is one of the worst cards in the deck. It's the jack of diamonds. So now 4 diamonds on the board. Ace jack is beating us. Pocket jacks are beating us. I check, thinking I'm going to face a bet, but he instantly checks back and shows pocket aces for top set. Wow. He flopped top set. We turned 2 pair, and luckily for us, the river saved us from losing another big pot. Well, it could have been worse, but after this hand, the table ends up breaking. I'm in the game for 9,000 and cash out for a little bit less than 8,500. All right, guys, that is it for this one. Playing 5-10 no limit here at Harrahs Pompano Beach. It was an interesting game. I was up early on, like $1,500, and then I tried that big bluff there with king 10 of clubs, and my opponent called with ace queen. Looking back, I think I should have bet a little bit bigger. It was somewhat of an ambitious bluff. Obviously, I knew he had an ace, I was hoping maybe he would fold ace-jack or ace-queen or ace-10 when the diamonds got there, but he ended up finding a good call. We lost that one. I 3-bet pocket jacks, had to fold to a 4-bet. And then an interesting hand, one of the last hands there, king-jack of spades. I flopped a combo draw. I bet 200. Opponent raised to 625, and then it raised to 1300. I'm not really sure what the best play is there. Should I just fold? Should I call $1,300? Should I go all in? Let me know down in the comments what you guys would do. I felt like I was only in for 200. I could be drawing basically dead against the ace-high flush draw. I could be up against a set. So I made the fold there with king-jack of spades. We also made 2-pair versus a set against aces to 9-10 suited. So not really my best day. And also the worst thing that happened today was I ordered a burger, okay? I got the burger and I came up here to the bar to eat it. And after like a couple bites, I'm like, something's up with this burger. Like this does not taste like a regular burger. So I ended up throwing it away. And one of the players was nice enough to give me some of their sushi. And I went back to the table and I saw the receipt, and the receipt said veggie burger. So I got a freaking veggie burger. I don't know what happened. Maybe they got confused in the kitchen, but I ate like 2 bites of a veggie burger and it was freaking terrible. I don't know how people eat that shit, but I will never make that mistake again. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a fun game full of fun players. Didn't quite go our way, lost $510, but that's how poker goes. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, I'll see ya.